All right, everyone, and welcome to tonight's Red Barn event titled "The Many Adventures of the Writing Writer." My name is Randy, and I work here at Wenatchee River Institute. We're a nonprofit with the mission to connect people, communities, and the natural world. And with me tonight is Rebecca Ryan. She's our education director, and she's helping it make possible for folks to interact with our event at home, and it's going to be recorded later to watch on our YouTube. So hello to everyone watching online. And we also have a couple volunteers here with us today. We have Pam and Virginia. They're doing the beverage servings. Thank you, guys. So Wenatchee River Institute works towards our mission through our youth and community education programs. Our youth programs deliver hands-on curriculum up and down the Wenatchee Valley, and our traveling naturalist program reaches schools as far as Brewster, giving experiential learning opportunities to 4th and 5th graders. And our community programs reach through our many Red Barn events like this one here tonight, and then also seasonal nature walks and other workshops that we provide here. And we have a lot going on. If you guys want to stay connected and see what else is going on here, feel free to sign up for our e-news. There's a forum over there on that table, or follow us on social media. And another aspect is our effort to connect to Indigenous people, to their ancestral lands here. And I would like to take time for our land acknowledgement right now. This land acknowledgement was created alongside the Shinpesquashu people. We are spreading the message they wish to be spread to the public. The land Wenatchee River Institute sits on is the ancestral homelands of the Shinpesquashu or Piscosa or Wenatchee people. The Shinpesquashu, meaning people in between, had villages positioned along the Wenatchee River and surrounding areas. Their ancestral homelands extends from the Cascade Ridge throughout what is now known as the Wenatchee and Okanagan valleys. The culture and economy of the Shinpesquashu people centers on taking care of the land. They fish, hunt, gather roots and berries, basket-making materials, and medicine. The Shinpesquashu are named within the Yakima Treaty of 1855. Language to establish the Wenatchee Reservation was never followed through, even with the needed surveying complete. Many Shinpesquashu now live on the Culver Reservation, 150 miles northeast of Leavenworth. They were forced off their land here, and the U.S. government moved them to this reservation. The Shinpesquashu people are still alive today. They continue to practice their culture, harvest their traditional foods and medicines, and hold their ceremonies passed down from their ancestors. Most people won't see or notice them, but they continue to be on the land that they are connected to. Their traditional language in Hampshire, an interior Salish dialect, and we would like to welcome you all by saying hello in their language, till hushed. We offer this land acknowledgement as the first step to amplifying Indigenous voices and recognizing the harm done to them as a people. We stand as an ally to recognize their connection to the land and their rights to practice their culture on these sacred lands. We encourage all to learn about the Indigenous peoples of the place you now call home. The Wenatchee River Institute is committed to sharing this land acknowledgement and following up with their actions to educate and be respectful. And back here we have a map of where that reservation is. Maybe the pointer's not going to work. But it's that little red line up there, 150 miles north. And we also have a sculpture now on the Wenatchee River Institute property made by Swede Albert, who's a Piscosa artist up in Omak. And the sculpture you can find down by Barn Beach. All right. And I'd also like to take a minute to thank our sponsors for making these types of events possible. We have our major sponsors: Gustav's Grill and Beer Garden, Ludwig's German Restaurant, Obertal Inn, Posey Handpicked Goods, South Restaurants, Hotel Pension Anna, Munchen House, Sleeping Lady Mountain Resort, North Central Washington Audubon Society, Icicle Brewing Company, and then other sponsors are the Cove Resort of Fish Lake, Colchuk Consignment, Riverfront Rock Gym, Mountain Home Lodge, Mitchell Reed, and Schmitten Insurance. If you ever get the chance to tell them thank you, please do. They are wonderful businesses here in the Valley. All right, and before I introduce, oh, just kidding. I'm jumping all over the place. And now to introduce our speakers. So tonight we have Danielle Worley. She is a Link Transit commuter and author, and she uses her time in transit to up her weekly word count. And she's also she lives here in the Wenatchee Valley, and she has published 7 novels and a self-help book. And she's going to be joined tonight by public transport champion, Selina Danko, an outreach marketing specialist, and Pete Kapler, the travel trainer. And they're going to be talking about different options through Link Transit and introducing their new champion for public transport, their new mascot. And with that, I will hand it over to them. And get you guys all mic'd up. Perfect. I'll get this out of your way.
I would love it if everyone moved closer to the front, maybe. Yeah. I just feel like there's such a small group. It would be much more comfortable if we were all kind of gathered up here. Or not. It's up to you. So how many of you have had any experience riding a Link Transit bus? Great. How many of you have ridden recently, like within the last couple of weeks? Okay, within the last year. Okay, so for some of you, it's been very recent, and some of you not so. It's not so recent, but there's some familiarity in the room with Link Transit, which is awesome. We do serve 3,500 square miles in Chelan and Douglas County, 7 days a week. So we are a 7 days a week service now. I don't know if all of you know that, but Monday through Sunday, we have a lot of challenges with the rural transportation service delivering very reliable service. We work really hard to do that every day, but we are struggling with a driver shortage right now. So if you know anyone who's looking for a job, we have an excellent starting wage of $26 an hour. We have a great benefits package. Come to us with a good driving record. We'll take you through the CDL process. We pay for all of that. So if you know anyone in your circle that's looking for a job with us, we'd love to talk to them. So yeah, so starting with that, we go clear up to Manson every day. We come to Wenatchee. How many trips do we have to Leavenworth every day?
I think it's
on weekdays. 22 trips to Leavenworth. We have General Public Dial-A-Ride, which is a door-to-door service in Leavenworth and also in Chelan. We just are launching a rideshare program that allows employers to enter a relationship with us where we provide a vehicle. The employer provides the driver. And so it's a kind of a carpool situation, but they use one of our vehicles. We maintain them. We fuel them up. And then they're able to use that vehicle to get back and forth to work. So we have that. And we also have a trip link program. So in our very rural areas where we don't have service, you can pay your volunteer to drive you to medical appointments and to the store and whatever errands you have to do. And we're looking at, so this is really exciting. We're looking at some community vans that would be stationed in a community where the community could use that vehicle to drive groups around to different locations. So that program is still very much in development. We don't really know exactly what that's going to look like yet. So anyway, so that's a little bit about Link Transit and what we do. Pete and I, of course, are champions for the organization. Christina is our planner. She is an excellent champion for our organization as well. Tonight is an opportunity to very softly launch our mascot, which is Chip the Duck, and we love him a lot. And when we talk about building a champion, we're not talking about somebody who can run really fast, right? We're talking about someone who's a champion for public transportation. And so I just wanted to give you a little bit about his backstory so you understand why we chose him to be our champion. And so you're the first to really know his story. So Chip is a Manson mallard. And he grew up and now he works for us. But this is kind of how his story started. So that's the actual Chip. And he was hatched in Manson, and he happened to be hanging out at the Padoy stop, which is where our drivers have a layover. So they have some time there. And the ducks were always there kind of hanging out. And the drivers noticed that this little guy got picked on by the other ducks. And they were worried about him. So they brought birdseed to the bus stop, and they kind of had like a little network with all the other drivers that worked on the Route 21, and they all talked about him. It's like, how's Chip doing? Have you seen him? They're all looking out for this little guy. So they always, when he was there, and he was there most of the time, they would shoo the other ducks away so he could get his share of the food. And then finally, he does. Yeah. So finally, that sound the bus makes when it kneels, that beep, beep, beep sound, well, Chip became imprinted on that sound. And so the bus would pull up, beep, 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 and then the bus driver would hear the wings of Chip flying in to be fed. So that's how Chip's relationship with Link Transit started. And so the way you like to think of Chip is that he just really became inspired by the bus driver heroes that helped him along the way, helped him through the winter months, and helped him get his share of food. And we like to think that he was trying to think of a creative way that he could help us, because we do rely on all of our community to make sure that people understand how to use our system. And he thought, well, maybe he heard that there was a job opening for a community liaison. He thought he was the best duck for the job. So yeah. And so his friend Tammy, so bus driver Tammy has known Chip for a really long time. She has lots of pictures of him. She introduced him to some artists. So this is Sarah Haslinger. She is an artist and consultant in Wenatchee. And Lisa Robinson is not pictured, but she is a costume designer to kind of help him develop his persona as a liaison in his public image. So the first thing they had to decide is, okay, Chip he's growing, he's getting bigger. And so how do we want him to look toward the public? And he was worried about his little imperfection, his little disability. And he asked, should I have something, cosmetic done about that? And Tammy and Sarah both told him, no, you should keep it because it makes you very, very, very relatable. And Lynn, our human resources manager, she took one look at him and said he was the right duck for the job. So he was hired on the spot. So again, he's continuing to grow up, right? And there were a lot of conversations among the bus drivers who didn't know about what was happening with Chip, that they hadn't seen him in a while. And so really, he was going through this growing up process. And so he wasn't coming to the bus stop as much because he was learning this new role on how to be a liaison for a public transportation system. So now he started from these lowly beginnings. So we like to say, so whether your dream includes a red carpet trimmed in gold or a blue ramp outlined in safety yellow, Chip hopes that taking that first step might just involve a Link bus. So and we agree that that's the case. So anyway, yeah. And so you can see all the other ducks are kind of back there in the background, and there's Chip visiting the Link Transit driver. So that's kind of the story. That's how Chip got started. And thanks to Sarah and Lisa, who are costume designers and artists in Wenatchee, this is Chip. He's not done yet. We don't have the rest of the story, but this is him, and this is his little beak. Yeah, we're really excited. Yeah, you guys.
It's remarkably light.
Yeah.
Oh, I love this story. No, it's really.
Yeah.
I love the.
I just got out of the audience can't see me anymore. I don't know if there's anybody out there who's trying to see me, but anyway, this has been an obsession for me, this Chip the duck, for a couple of years. And I think management finally just gave up and said, and the board said, we need to let her have this duck because we're tired of hearing about it. And even my daughter, she crocheted me a duck. We have a deck sock puppet that's sat on my windowsill for 2 years. And so finally, so thank you, Christina, for letting us do this project. And, and thanks to our board of directors for letting us pay for it, because we really, our artists team that's working on this project, they're not volunteers. We're really proud of the fact that we've engaged a local team to help us complete this project, so that we can have an ombudsman for Link Transit. And this ombudsman, of course, will be helping our travel trainer in his duties to support people learning how to use our system. So Pete, if you'd like to come up and say a few words about the work that you do at Link.
So one of the things that we realize about Kapler. I'm the travel trainer for Link Transit. I was a driver for a number of years, and before that I was a driver with another company and a dispatcher. So I've been in transit for quite a while now. But this opportunity came up to be the travel trainer for Link Transit, and I thought that's probably a better fit for me. I really love it. What I do, the best way to explain my job is I work as like a tutor would for a school, and I meet students where their needs, where their strongest, where their strengths are. That's where I meet them. So what I do is I work one-on-one or in small groups, and I teach people how to use the system, because we realize that it can be intimidating if you've never done it before, and it can also be confusing, especially when we make a shift on our schedules. So we introduced the travel training program. I've taught people from 8 years old up to 93 how to use our system. So everybody, I think we all fit in between there somewhere. And they both can learn it, and so can everybody else. Learning to use the bus is a ticket to independence. You don't have to rely on your friend or your mom or your dad to pick you up. You can get there yourself, and anywhere that we can get you in our service area, I can teach you how to do it safely and with confidence. And so sometimes that's one trip. Sometimes it's just one. I've got it. We're good. Sometimes it's several, especially like with my 8-year-old. I rode with her for about a month, make sure she was safe and she knew what she was doing. She knew how to take care of herself on the bus and who she can rely on, who's safe, that sort of stuff, stranger danger kind of things that sometimes we take for granted. But anyway, I have not trained any waterfowl, but I'm looking forward to working with Chip. Very soon you'll see him around at some more of our events, but that's what I do in a nutshell. So if you need any help, if you know someone, I'd like to learn to use the bus, that's all I do. I go and I meet with them and I make sure that they can do it by themselves. And it's a really very rewarding job. That independence is huge if you don't have it. We do take it for granted. I can get in my car anytime, but if you don't know how or you can't, the bus is there for you. So anyway, thank you. I wanted to say thank you for the Red Barn Institute people too for having us here tonight. Do you want to introduce our guest, or it's so okay? We'll switch out. Getting good.
Well, I met Danielle through a Facebook post that she made about one of her many adventures riding the Link Transit bus. And we're very proud of you, Danielle, for sticking it out after that first experience of, getting stuck in your car and not being able to get out in time to catch the bus. So we're really thrilled that you're here tonight to talk to us about your adventures. And we love that you're a dedicated bus rider. You're an inspiration to all of us, that we all try as staff to ride the bus when we can, but you're a dedicated commuter. So thank you so much for that. And we're really looking forward to hearing your stories.
Okay, so good evening. Thank you all for being here, especially in this weather. I'm Danielle, also known as Lucy H. Delaney, and also known as the Writing Writer. And that is a hashtag that I use, so you can search it to find me. I am, as Selina said, a local author, and Randy said that too. I currently write all things women's literature. So I've got some sweet, spicy real life romance. I've got a dark coming of age series. I have a very spicy attempt at a billionaire boyfriend book, which isn't exactly my jam, but I gave it a shot. And the most recently published work that I have is actually a break from my usual fiction. And it was my story that I used a countercultural approach to dating. And it netted me an amazing man who's ready. And we've been married for over 5 years now. So we have a great long-lasting love story. And it was just fun to gather the data and to track my dates like a science experiment. So anyway, before I go too far, I have to confess that I am a much better author than I am a speaker. And so I hope that you'll indulge me in peeking at my screen as I go, because that's kind of how I do things. And then I also wanted to thank Link Transit for thinking that I'm hilarious trying to get on the bus and inviting me to do this, and the Wenatchee River Institute for hosting these Red Barn events and other super cool things where you've indulged me to be here before too. So I did bring some books. If you're interested in getting any, just let me know they're there. There are also a couple at A Book for All Seasons and Kindle Unlimited on Amazon if you have a Kindle Unlimited account. So that's the housekeeping about my books and my stuff. And now to the stories about the bus and me, because that's why you're all here. So most of you know that any good author would tell you to start the story where the story starts. Unless the story starts in a boring place, and then you start the story where the action starts. And so that's what I'm going to do, because it's probably no fun to hear about my why. Saving money, saving time, and doing my part to help the planet and reduce my carbon footprint. It's boring. So I'm going to skip to the good stuff. But I do have my super awesome math calculations here on how much money that I have saved and how many words that I've got. So if you want to geek out on my different math calculations, I'm more than happy to show you that. So when I made up my mind to ride the bus, told that guy right there, I'm doing it. I did the math. We could save so much money. I can get so many words written. I am doing it. And so I packed my lunchbox and I put extra food and snacks in there because I can't go to the store to get lunch, which also saves money. I packed my laptop because if you are a writing writer, you have to have your laptop in order to be able to write. And I kissed my handsome husband goodbye as he walked out the door on time. And I remembered that I had to get this and I had to get that, and I completely missed the bus. That wasn't even the one that I wrote about on Facebook that Selina heard about. So I was mortified because millions of people take the bus every single day, and half of them are like teenagers. So I'm like, clearly I can do this. I can get on a bus on time. I'm capable. I'm intelligent. I'm fully grown. I wish I was none of the seat was available, but probably still would have missed the bus. So anyway, it was a skill that I needed to learn. First attempt was a fail. The second attempt, that is somewhere on my Facebook that I tried to pull up, we had a little snafu with our door, and it was a little bit hard to get open. We had a break in when we were on a trip to somewhere. We parked in Seattle, and somebody tried to like get into the car, and so you couldn't easily get out that way. So I was on time for the bus, and I was trying to get to the bus, but I couldn't get out of my door. Yeah, so the door was just locked. So anyway, I keep trying and I keep failing, but I almost kind of wanted to give up. But money savings and word counts really for me are big, huge carrots. So I had a cheerleader, big burly grizzly bear, like, come on, baby, you can do this. Come on, you can do this. So the great bus saga continued. And if you haven't figured it out already, time and me are a little bit of ishy friends. It's just kind of a general idea that I have. So it was really painful to learn how to navigate the bus stop right. And this is going to be a really weird segue, but bear with me just for a second. So the Bible talks about a God who never changes. And I knew that I never knew that the God of the Bible and the bus schedule had something in common until I started riding the bus. And what I will tell you is the bus schedule never changes either. Unless there's a winter event or some kind of wild weather. And in that case, the bus still always shows up. Maybe not when you want it to, but it always shows up. But usually a 7 a.m. departure is 7 a.m. It doesn't care if you're there. The bus drivers are very nice and they will smile as you are not on the bus. And so 3 days in, the bus showed up and I was still not on it. I wasn't letting it get me down this time though. So I knew that I was too late and on the wrong side of the river to get to Old Station, but I figured I had a good fighting chance of making it to Kashmir. So I got on Highway 2, probably drove faster than I should have been. And I realized that there's a stop along Highway 2 on Monitor. So the stop is tricky. I'll give you all the tips and tricks that I know. Pete's probably got this better. But when you're a novice, it's tricky. But I aimed for a Hot Rod Cafe and I parked in the park and ride, which is kind of undefined. And the path to the bus stop out to the highway is like camouflaged in tumbleweeds in the, summer months. And I'm not going to lie, I was already racing. It kind of added to the adventure of the whole thing. And I saw probably another commuter minding his own business. And to me, it seemed like a Western duel was about to happen. And I heard the music in my head and I was getting ready to face off. I have no idea why, because he's probably a perfectly nice gentleman. But maybe we were going to duel for a seat or something. I don't know. But we didn't duel. He even let me get on the bus in front of him. And the end of that story is that I did get on the bus. It's really, really full at 7 a.m. So I made a note to myself that the Columbia Station would be the best stop to get on at. And then I could ride the whole way to Leavenworth. I could get a window seat so I wouldn't have to make way for anybody else or get up for anybody else. I felt like a hot mess of a bus rider as I boarded, but I saved money riding the bus from the Monitor stop. And I'll tell you more about the Monitor stop in a minute. So I'm going to put my finger up. I got tons of words in, which for me is a huge thing. As a writer, I can get about 1,000 words in one bus ride from Columbia Station to Leavenworth, and that's amazing. So I got not that many words that day in, but lots of words, so I was motivated. And I had my finger up because I told you I'd tell you more about the Monitor stop, the no man's land stop, except for there's that cool sky bridge that you get to go over. So that's pretty cool. And you get to like look down, it's neat. But I probably don't have to keep my finger up because y'all know that I'm just reading from here. I prompted myself to keep my finger up, but it adds some dramatic appeal to it maybe. But anyway, Monitor has come to be known as the fail-safe stop. And it's a regular stop that I use. So now I'm weeks into the bus riding adventure. I've got it down. It's my style kind of down. I don't have a regular stop. I have a couple different regular stops. Columbia Station is my ideal stop, especially when I can get my ideal seats. And if you ever ride with me, you will see me trying to scope out my seats. It is on the driver's side. Window seat, one step up, just in front of the bright light, in front of the wheel well. My feet sit flat on the floor. My legs are parallel, and I can write like the wind blows. It's kind of a Forrest Gump saying there, but for me, it works, and I feel wonderful. But misses still happen. And so when I can't make that stop, instead of getting humiliated about it anymore or frustrated about it anymore, I have found my Old Station backup stop. So the backup pickup is pretty handy for a couple different reasons. So the Columbia Station's only 5 minutes from my house. Old Station takes more like 15. I have some rules to get me to the bus on time. And one of my rules is if I am not in my car on the road at 10 to 7, on the road, not in the car in the driveway, not almost to the car. If I am not on the road at 10 to 7, I just head straight to Old Station. And it's a loss of writing time, so it takes about 15 minutes, but that's a round trip gain of 30 minutes, which is audiobook listening time. So it does have merit. And there also still is significant savings. That's probably the third calculation that's on there. So I've got my ideal stop, I've got my backup stop, and I have my fail-safe stop. And if I'm ever not sure that I'll make it to Old Station, I use the fail-safe stop. It always has my back, and it also has one of the most epic writing stories to date. It, like my dating book, is a true story from my own life experience, and it's a story that I like to call the great hiking boot debacle of 2022. And in all fairness, if you follow me on Facebook, you have already heard this story, so I won't bore you with it. But since it's such a doozy, you can look it up if you want to. What I can say is never wear secondhand boots to work if you haven't tried them at home first. And I can leave it at that. For now, I'll continue. Here's where it might get, because I'm in a room with people from Link Transit. So I'm going to continue with my stories, and I'll give you a little tour of the senses. Because I tell you what, riding the bus is truly, trust me, follow me here. It's an all senses adventure. Probably not tastes though, because with the exception of the gingerbread ornament competition just before Christmas, there's not a lot of tasting going on the bus. Link Transit, doesn't really encourage it, which is cool because it's a bus and not a food truck. But there's plenty of other stuff that's going on. So I'm going to do it. I'm going to talk about the smells. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but the smells happen. And it wouldn't be fair to speak about the bus and leave them out. So I started riding the bus in the late summer-ish. It was hot. And most every morning when I got on the bus, there was a smell. It was distinct and I couldn't quite put my finger on it at first, but then it dawned on me. Someone was coming from the community pool. And I didn't even know Wenatchee had a community pool, let alone one that was open that early in the morning. And it probably took my brain longer to link what was actually happening to it than it should have. But that chlorine-y, watery, bleachy kind of smell, it wasn't a pool patron. It was the bus. They actually cleaned the bus. It was fresh and clean, and it washed all the smells out of the way. So hang on, I lost my spot, but this is really good, trust me. So the Link cleans their buses all the time. They're lovely to ride in and clean right down to the smell. So clean that most of the other smells are drowned up in the clean. But there are occasions when an entire Rue 21 store busts its way onto the bus and all of us get to smell like a girl teen spirit. That one meme never rings truer than in those moments. It's the meme that's like, hey girl, is fine. Before you get on the bus with the rest of us is not. Maybe that's not a meme, but it should be for the bus. And then, of course, there is the pungent salute to the great state of Washington's legalization of recreational and medicinal, I lost my spot again. Medicinal plant matter is what we're going to call it. Oh, I'm so sorry. So there are plenty whiffs of 420. And speaking of numbers on the bus, since we're covering all the senses, you see numbers on the bus, more than just 420. I will share with you that these come in very handy for identifying your bus, because buses share stops. And if you look for your bus number, you can check to make sure you're on the right bus so that you don't end up going somewhere that's new to you. So what's that? I touched on the tastes, the smells, the sights. I guess all that we have left is the sounds on the bus. And if you're especially clever, you'll realize what I just did there. And I'm really glad I didn't lose my spot. But the rest of you can replay the speech if you can to see what I did. Moving on, the sounds on the bus are actually pretty minimal. I think the buses are electric, I think, or most of them are, maybe. I don't know. They're pretty quiet. It's not that bad at all. Occasionally, a group of people will have a private conversation, or Gary will call his mom and put her on speakerphone, which, by the way, she hates. But usually people are just sleeping or reading or listening to whatever's in their ears, minding their own business. I think I might be the only writer, but I'm not the only writer with the hashtag writing writer. There's also a motorcycle dude who has it. So maybe we can get more writers on the link bus and we can like take hold of that hashtag. But anyway, back to the sounds on the bus. I couldn't talk about talking on the bus without talking about Tony. Before I tell you about Tony, I have to tell you about my Uncle Dan. So my Uncle Dan has never met a stranger in his life. I mean, if you strike up a conversation with him, he will keep you engaged for as long as you allow him to. And he's not going to stop talking. And I'm pretty sure Tony and my uncle are brothers because Tony has also never met a stranger. And way back when I was still getting the hang of riding the bus, I did not know that eye contact was a faux pas. Just letting you know. If you make eye contact, you are giving someone permission to engage. And most people don't want to, so they don't make eye contact. They leave you alone because they know this rule, which I did not know. So I would stop writing when the bus stopped, and I would just look nicely at people, didn't want to make conversation, but didn't want to be rude. Most people didn't look at me. And then Tony got on the bus, and all he needed was that eye contact, and he was right there. He sat right down next to me. He noticed that I was writing right away, probably because my laptop was on my lap and I was actively writing, and it did not stop him. He asked me about my writing. He told me about his work, and he also mentioned that I was pretty. And I thought he was a very nice man, especially when he got up to give me the paper bus schedule. The routes had just changed, so he got me the schedule. He explained it. Very nice man. Horrible for netting words, but great conversation. Sure enough, the next day, Tony, again, this time I didn't really make eye contact, and all the other averted eyes made so much more sense to me. They had probably met Tony too. And Tony and I were already buddies though. So again, he sat down right beside me, talked about my writing again, and I reiterated that I was writing, and didn't stop him. He just kept on talking. And we talked about my writing and we talked about his work. And I went home and I told my husband, how can I be the writing writer if I'm talking on the bus? It doesn't even have the same ring to it. Chit-chatting writer, writing writer, it didn't work. So he was like, anybody who's talked to him for a little bit, he's a pretty firm and gruff man. He's like, you just got to tell him. It's not being rude. You are just letting him know that you are on the bus to write. I didn't want to hurt poor Uncle Tony's feelings, but I also didn't want to miss out on my wonderful writing time. So I breathed deep. I prepped for it. I planned what I was going to say, and I stressed out for nothing because he didn't even show up on the bus. And so I went to work. I had to calm down. And sure enough, when I got on the home bus, there was Tony. And he let me know that he wasn't there in the morning because he went to work early. Okay. So I told him, I said, Tony, I need to write now. I have a deadline. And that was a lie because I had no deadline at that at all whatsoever. I just wanted Tony to feel the urgency. And he totally understood. He told me that he did. And then we started talking about my grandkids. And then he wondered if I would go out with them. And that's when I drew the line. And I'm pretty sure he saw my ring on my finger before, but I told him I was married. And I guess he wasn't my long lost uncle after all, because he never said anything to me or sat by me again. So that's really all the stories that I have, other than the ones that you could dredge up on Facebook or Instagram, and probably there will be more, I'm sure. But if you'll indulge me, maybe I could talk about my fancy financial calculations and word counts. Maybe just a little bit. Yes. Okay, so my books are fabulous to date. I've published one book while riding on the bus, and that's my not most scandalous book, but the most scandalous title that guy right there came up with. So most of that, most of that was written as number 6 on Amazon. It was a number 6 dating category book there for a while. But anyway, that one was written mostly on the bus and it's been published. I'm currently working on The Big Y. And yes, it was inspired by the Big Y restaurant that I drive past or ride past each and every day as I go to work. And I figure roughly that I've written about 100,000 words. And in the writer's world, that's almost 2 novel lengths, but it's not. I just have the word counts that I did, not necessarily books for that. So usually I average about a book a year. With being able to write on the bus, I get almost 2 extra hours every day. So I figure I should be able to publish 2 books each year. So that's phenomenal for me. That doubles my productivity, just writing. As far as gas savings go, depending on which stop I end up at, I'm saving between $200 and $300 a month with a $4 gallon of gas average. So in the summertime, it was way more than that. And that means in the 7 months that I've been riding the bus, I've saved over $2,000 in gas alone. That might not be super exciting to many people, but to me, that's a pretty big deal. So I still am not exactly sure why the bus is free, because I don't remember the bus being free when I was a kid. But I'm super thankful that it is. And I'm also thankful that you guys put up with me reading my writing, and God bless and drive home safe. And there you go. Yes.
I want to know the hiking route story. I haven't read that one.
Oh, you haven't read that one? Well, it's so funny because I might have already found it on Facebook. I didn't know if somebody would want to. Do you guys want to indulge me and let me read one more? Oh my gosh, this is okay. This is good. Okay. Now I really will read. This is straight from Facebook, I think. I don't think it was on Instagram. So the great hiking boot debacle of 2022. This was, I think, in early September. So today's Writing Writer adventure is a doozy. I got on the fail-safe bus stop this morning. You know, the monitor one that's like being in no man's land, except for you do get to cross over that cool sky bridge. I didn't take the fail-safe bus today, or the fail-safe stop today, because I was late. Today it was strategic. I was going hiking with a friend in the evening, and this stop made the most sense. I need to pause here just a minute. Let's put a pin in it, because there's something that you need to know about me. It's not really pertinent to my writing, so you might not know it, but this thing about me is like really pertinent to this story. In fact, it makes the whole story. So I have to share it. And it's that I fancy myself a minimalist. I think that I prefer to be a secondary consumer of goods. So one of my mottos in life is that you never buy new unless you absolutely have to. I did have to buy these boots brand new. It was a celebration of a new job. So I'm just justifying that. The hiking boots, I did not buy brand new. I bought them new to me a few weeks before this great story happened. They were a great name brand, and like I looked it up online. I was with him at Goodwill, and they retailed for like $200 or $300. So they got to be good boots, right? Even though they're used. I could tell that it had been a while since the boots had seen any action, but I figured I'd give them a shot. So I just put them on that morning, and I walked to work from the bus stop. It's about a quarter mile from me, which is a good jaunt, but something weird was happening in my boot. And I couldn't figure out what it was, because I didn't think that like I stepped in sand or anything, but there was definitely like sand in my shoe. It was weird. So I got to work and I took off my boot, and legit the sole had completely disintegrated into sand in my boot. So I'm just taking my boot off and shaking it off into the trash can and just went about my day. And I could not say that the boots fit my feet great. They were the anti-Goldilocks boot. They were too hard, too tight, and just weren't going to work. So that afternoon, when I got the text that my friend didn't want to go hiking, I was totally okay with bailing. The too tight boots had rubbed part of my calf wrong and totally rubbed my attitude wrong. I got to my bus stop and waited. And while I waited, I just happened to look down. And the thing was crumbling. Like I went like this, And the whole sole fell off in the middle of Leavenworth with all of these people. So I picked up my floppy sole, and walked it over to the trash and threw it away. So like, just picture it. I am in the middle of Leavenworth, a tourist town, with a soleless shoe. And I have to get on this bus, so I just went right on the bus like nothing happened. The bus driver wrote the rest of the way to the failsafe. And then that means that I got to go all the way down the dual lane. I got to go all the way up and around the sky bridge. And I got to walk all the way back to my car with no heel on my boot. So not buying new is still a part of my soul. See what I did there? But I can't say that I'm going to buy used boots without really doing a more thorough inspection. So that's the great boot debacle. I did have a picture, but I totally forgot to bring it. There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you have any questions, I could bring them next round too, if there's any more.
Do you have any online?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for coming.
Yes. Okay. Someone online was curious, what is the name of the trainer and then how to contact you?
Oh, my name, Pete Kaplan. Let me step up here and make sure I get my phone number right.
Oh, geez, sorry.
No, I'm good. This guy up here. My name is Pete Kapler. I'm the travel trainer at Link, and I'm going to give you my office phone number, 509-664-7673. And you can reach me and leave me a message there. You can also just go to linktransit.com and you can find my contact information there.
Yep.
Can I have your card? I'll take it in.
You betcha. Yeah, oh, great.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Yeah. I was gonna ask a question. Do you find that there's certain times of the year that writing is more, you're more productive or?
Over here.
Shall I repeat the question?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I was just asking if there's certain, maybe either times of day or certain seasons where you find that riding on the bus is different.
Well, so I have been conditioned riding the bus. It's different. So usually I am in my riding zone early in the morning when it's quiet, when I have a coffee, just able to bust out the words. So it did take an adjustment to get used to riding on the bus, especially because the laptop is all over the place and moving and everything. But now I have never written in vehicles before this, but I think I've had the laptop when we were dropping our daughter off at the airport and I was in the back writing on it. And anytime I get on the bus now, I never make contact with anybody. I just sit there and write and write and write. So I am as productive in the afternoons riding on the bus, but I don't think that I could be productive anywhere else. I think I'm just conditioned to do it now.
Any other questions? No? All right. Well, thank you guys so much for coming to the Red Barn event, and thanks so much to Selina and Pete and Danielle for being here, and thank you guys for coming out. Yeah.
Thanks,
Anything else? Yeah, thank you.